There is a door set into the hillside about 40 feet behind this house, and my great-grandfather put it there in 1898. That is 128 years ago. Behind that door is a room dug 9 feet down into the side of the ridge, walled in fieldstone that came out of the same hole, and the temperature in that room right now, on an August afternoon when it is 94 degrees on my front porch, is 37 degrees. 37. All year. It was 37 in January. There are potatoes in there that came out of the garden last September, 11 months ago. You can pick one up and it is firm. It has not gone soft in the middle. It has not sprouted a foot of white shoots looking for a window. It is a potato. It has been a potato for 11 months and it will still be a potato in November. There is no compressor in that room. There is no fan. There is no wire running to it. No plug, no switch on the wall. Nothing in there has ever cost this family 1 cent to run, not in 128 years. And my electric bill last month was $61 for the whole house. No permit, no contractor, no refrigerant, no filter, no service call, and nothing in that room that a fella cannot dig, stack, or buy at a farm supply store in any county in this country. If the ground on your place has stone and clay in it, and most ground east of the Mississippi does, the whole thing costs you $94 for 2 pieces of pipe and a bit of screen wire. And then, before I am done, I will tell you the part about the appliance business that ought to make you a little sore. My name is Wade Caudill. I am 64 years old, and I live in a hollow outside Hazard, Kentucky, in a cabin I have kept for 38 years. There is a root cellar dug into the hill behind this house, and it has fed this family through every winter since before my grandfather was born. I have never owned a second refrigerator. Now, there are 5 parts to this thing, and you need all 5. The depth, the 3-layer wall, the clay, the stone, and the sand, the low vent and the high vent, the dirt over the crown, and the one part that near about everybody leaves out, which is the little room in front of the room, and I will get to why that one matters more than the other 4 put together. Get those 5 right and you will hold potatoes 11 to 14 months, carrots 10 to 12, hard cheese 18 to 24, and you will not pay $1 a year to do it, ever, for the rest of your life and probably your grandchildren's. Now, let me start with what most folks get wrong. Most folks hear root cellar, and they picture a damp corner of a basement with some shelving in it, a cool spot. That is not what this is, and that is exactly why the ones people build now grow mold in 6 weeks, and they give up on the whole idea. Here is the thing you have to understand first. Go out in your yard right now, take a shovel, and dig down 2 feet, and put your bare hand flat on the bottom of that hole. It will be cooler than the air. Everybody knows that much. But 2 feet down, the ground still follows the season. It warms up in July, and it freezes in January, just slower. Dirt is not cold. Dirt is slow. That is the whole principle. Dirt is a thing so heavy and so thick that the weather cannot move it fast, and the deeper you go, the further behind the weather it falls, until you get down to a depth where the ground has quit paying attention to the season altogether. That is what you are building. You are not building a cold box. You are digging down to the depth where the earth stopped listening, and that is a different thing than a refrigerator does, mind you. A refrigerator is an insulated cabinet with a pump on it. The pump shoves a chemical through a loop. The chemical takes heat out of the box and dumps it into your kitchen, and the box gets down to about 35 to 38 degrees. Then the pump shuts off. Then the box slowly warms back up through its own walls, and the pump kicks on again. That compressor runs somewhere between 8 and 12 hours out of every 24, day and night, and every one of those hours is on your bill. 400 to 600 kilowatt hours a year, just that one box. $800 to $2,000 to buy. 10 to 18 years before the compressor gives out and you buy another one. And every single time somebody opens the door, the whole inside of it floods with 75-degree kitchen air, and it starts the fight over. The ground never has to fight. The ground does not cycle. The ground holds. The first one, then, depth. This is the number people get wrong the most, and it is the one you cannot fix later. The floor of the cellar has to sit a minimum of 8 feet below finish grade. Not the ceiling, the floor. And I know every guide you will find says 6 feet. 6 feet is where the mistake lives. At 6 feet down, in this part of the country, the ground still swings between about 40 and 55 degrees across the year. 55 degrees in September will sprout your potatoes and it will turn your squash. At 8 feet, that swing tightens to somewhere between 34 and 42. At 10 feet it tightens further, 35 to 39, but by then you are digging a well and fighting water. 9 feet is the sweet spot, and that is what I would tell you to cut to. 9 feet to the floor. Stand a 6-foot man down in that hole, and there is still a hay bale's worth of daylight over his head. Deep enough that the season quits reaching you. Shallow enough you can still get out with a ladder and a bad knee. And when you cut it, you cut the walls back on a slope as you go down. You do not stand in a straight-sided hole 9 feet deep in wet clay. That is not caution. That is just how the hole gets dug. The second one is the wall, and the wall is 3 layers, and each layer is doing a different job. Innermost, the face you can reach out and touch when you are standing in there, is clay plaster. Not concrete, clay. 4 to 6 inches of it, mixed right there on site, out of the subsoil clay you just dug out of the hole, and coarse sand, 3 parts clay to 1 part sand. 3 coffee cans of clay to 1 can of sand, and you are there. You put it on in 2 coats, a base coat 4 inches thick, which is 4 fingers laid flat, and you let that cure 14 days before you touch it. Then, a finish coat 2 inches, mixed with a finer sand, so it goes on smooth. Now here is why clay, and not anything else. Clay is hygroscopic. That is a $10 word for a plain thing. Clay drinks. When the air in that room gets too wet, the clay pulls water out of the air and holds it. When the air gets too dry, the clay gives it back. It is a sponge that works both directions, and it never needs a bit of help from you. And you need that, because the humidity in a working cellar has to sit between 85 and 95%. That is very wet, wetter than folks expect. If it drops below that, your carrots and your potatoes give up their own water through their skins, and they go rubbery and shrunk. If it climbs above it, you get water beating on the surfaces, and mold takes off. Clay walls hold you in that band without a dehumidifier, without a hygrometer, without you doing one thing. Middle layer is dry stacked fieldstone, 14 inches thick, elbow to knuckle on a grown man's forearm, laid up dry, no mortar, out of the rock that came out of the excavation. That stone is your flywheel. It is tons of mass sitting between the room and the world, and mass is what soaks up a change in temperature and hands it back so slow you never feel it happen. Outermost, between the back of that stone and the undisturbed dirt, you pack 2 to 3 inches of clean sand. That sand is a drainage curtain. Groundwater moving through the hillside hits the sand and runs down it instead of coming through your wall. But water vapor can still pass slow in both directions, which keeps the whole assembly breathing instead of souring. Now let me tell you the part that ought to make you a little sore. None of this is lost knowledge. Nobody hid it. Every county in Appalachia had men who could lay this up in a week, and the appliance people and the power company both knew good and well what a cellar in a hillside does, because half their first customers already had one out back. But a hole in the ground that a man digs one time in his life and hands to his grandson does not send anybody a bill in February. There is no compressor to fail on it in year 12. There is no service plan on it. There is no annual model. A thing that lasts 128 years is a terrible business and a fine possession, and the folks selling boxes with pumps in them had every reason in the world to let the hole in the hillside quietly go out of style. They did not conspire against you. They just never had one single dollar's worth of reason to remind you. Now, the next one is the two pipes, and after that comes the one my neighbor flat did not believe until he stood in mine with the door shut and felt it for himself. The third one, the vents, and this is the piece that separates a cellar that holds food 14 months from a damp basement corner that goes furry in 6 weeks. Here is the mechanism. Produce that is ripening gives off ethylene gas. That is not a chemical anybody sprayed on it. It is the plant's own hormone, the signal it makes to tell itself to ripen. And it does not stay in the apple that made it. It comes off into the air, and every other apple and potato and squash in that room breathes it in and gets the signal too. That is the real reason one bad apple spoils the barrel. It is not touching them. It is talking to them. So in a sealed-up room, the ethylene builds, and the whole inventory starts ripening at once, and then it starts going over at once. You have to move that gas out. But you cannot move it with a fan, because a fan moving that much air will drag the temperature and the humidity right out of the room with it. So you do it with density, and it costs you nothing to run. 2 pipes, 4-inch clay tile, the kind agricultural drainage suppliers sell for about $4 a linear foot. The mouth of one is about the size of a coffee mug. The first pipe is the intake. It comes in through the base of the north wall, right at floor level, just above the floor. Cool outside air is denser than the air in the room, so it falls in through that low pipe on its own and lays down along the floor. The second pipe is the exhaust, and it exits at the very crown of the ceiling, the highest point inside. The warmer, ethylene-laden air is lighter. It is already sitting up at the top of the room, and as that cool intake air comes in low, it shoves the light air up and out that high pipe, continuous. All day, every day, forever. No fan, no switch, no monitoring. 10 feet of pipe on the intake, 12 on the exhaust, 22 feet at $4 is $88, and you cap both outside ends with fine mesh screen, call it $6, or you will be sharing your winter potatoes with every mouse on the ridge. $94. That is the entire cash cost of the mechanical system in a 128-year-old refrigerator. Now, the fourth one. This is the one nearly every modern root cellar leaves out, and it is not a material, and it is not structural. It is a room. It is the anteroom, the little space in front of the space. Every cellar dug in this county before the war has one, and I did not understand what it was for until I was near about 30 years old. I thought it was a hallway. It is not a hallway. It is an airlock. Think about what happens on a January morning when it is 15 degrees outside and 37 in that room. You open one door, and you have a 60-degree difference in temperature standing on your doorstep. All that cold pours straight down into the chamber. The temperature drops, and the humidity balance that your clay walls spent 3 weeks settling into gets knocked flat. Close the door, and the room has to build it all back. In a house where somebody is going down there twice a day for supper, it never finishes building it back. It just wobbles all winter, and wobble is what rots food. The anteroom kills it dead. You dig a small intermediate space, 4 feet deep by 3 feet wide, about the size of a shower stall, as a straight extension of the entry passage, same stone wall assembly, and you hang 2 doors. Outer door, solid timber with a weather strip around the frame. Inner door, same thing. 4 feet of separation between them. You step in, you shut the outer door behind you, you stand there one breath in the dark, and then you open the inner door. The air that goes into your storage chamber has already been sitting in that little buffer taking on its temperature. The chamber never gets the shock. The clay never has to recover from something it was not built to absorb. And I will give you the numbers, because this is not a small effect. Cellars built with the anteroom hold their variation under 4 degrees across a whole calendar year, door traffic and all. Cellars built without one swing 9 to 14 degrees. Every one I have ever known to hold potatoes 14 months had one. Every one that went to rot before 8 months did not. 12 more square feet of digging and 1 more door frame. That is the difference between a hole that matches your refrigerator and a hole that makes your refrigerator look like a rented toy. So let us put the whole build in order. Site first. You want a north-facing slope if you have one, and if you do not, you dig straight down and you face the entry north anyway. North face means the sun never gets on your door and your anteroom in July, which is precisely the month you cannot afford it. Dig second. Interior floor 12 feet by 14 feet feeds a family of 4 with room to walk, a hair smaller than a one-car garage floor, plus the anteroom on the front, down to 9 feet. That is about 1,400 cubic feet of dirt to move, and if you have equipment access, it is one day with a rented excavator, $300 to $500, or it is a long month with a mattock and 2 nephews, the way my great-grandfather did it, and I have heard that story told at this kitchen table more times than I can count. He hit rock on the 3rd day at about 5 feet, and my grandfather told it that the old man just changed which end of the hole he was working on, and never said a word about it. That rock came out and went straight into the wall. Nothing on that place ever got thrown away twice. Walls 3rd. Fieldstone dry stacked 14 inches thick, 3 inches of packed sand behind it before you backfill, then the clay plaster inside, 4-inch base coat, 14 days to cure, 2-inch finish coat, ceiling 4th, timber joists spanning the width, flat fieldstone laid across them, a 12-inch packed clay cap over the stone, and then a minimum of 24 inches of earth over the crown. That 2 feet of dirt on top is your insulation, knee-high on a grown man, and it runs about an R20, same as a well-built modern wall, while it ties your ceiling straight into the stable temperature of the whole hillside. Vents 5th, low north intake at floor level, high exhaust at the ceiling crown, screened outside. Anteroom last, with the 2 doors, and then you fill it, and here is what it holds. Potatoes, 11 to 14 months, no real quality loss. Carrots bedded down in damp sand, 10 to 12 months. Hard squash, 6 to 8. Hard cheese sealed in wax, 18 to 24 months, and it gets better in there rather than worse. Dry cured sausage, 12 to 16 months, and salt cured pork, 8 to 12 months. Mind you, the cellar does not cure the meat. The meat goes in already properly cured, at the right salt ratio, done right before it ever comes down those steps. The cellar just holds what you already made safe. Do not confuse the two of those. The maintenance on the whole thing, over 128 years, has been reapplying the interior clay plaster twice. 1 day of work, under $30 in sand. It works. It has worked for 128 years. That is all there is to it. Let me run the whole thing by you one more time, slow, so you can write it down. Floor depth, 9 feet below finish grade, minimum 8. Interior floor, 12 feet by 14. Anteroom, 4 feet deep by 3 feet wide. On the front, entry facing north. Excavation, about 1,400 cubic feet. 1 day of excavator rental, $300 to $500, or free with hand tools and time. Walls, 3 layers, inside to out. Clay plaster, 3-part subsoil clay to 1 part coarse sand. Base coat 4 inches, cure 14 days, finish coat 2 inches. Then fieldstone, dry stacked, 14 inches thick, out of your own hole. Then 2 to 3 inches of packed clean sand against the undisturbed earth. Ceiling, timber joists, flat stone over them, 12-inch packed clay cap, 24 inches of earth over the crown. Vents, 2 4-inch clay tile pipes at $4 a foot. Intake 10 feet, low, through the north wall at floor level. Exhaust 12 feet, at the ceiling crown. Both screened, $88 in pipe, $6 in mesh. Doors, 2 solid timber, weather stripped, 4 feet apart. Cash cost if the ground gives you the stone and the clay, $94. If you buy the stone and the clay both, $260 all in. By the time the frost hits, you will walk out to that hillside with a bushel of potatoes and set them on a stone floor that is 37 degrees. and you will not touch them again until spring, and they will be there. $94, one time, for good. Now tell me what you would put in there first, potatoes, cheese, or the whole hog. And tell me if there is already an old cellar door in the bank behind your place that nobody has opened since your daddy was living. I read every one. Next time I want to show you how water gets to every fixture in a 4-bedroom house on this ridge with no pump and no electricity, and it comes down to 3 things: how high your tank sits, how much roof you have got, and one pipe sizing number that quit being taught a long while back. Take care of what you have got, and it will take care of you. I will see you next time.